and I actually spent about 20 years in the IT world before I got started in hypnosis. I've always had an entertainment background. My friend Ian and I do a lot of live sound for bands. We did DJ work, we own a haunted house, so I'd always been real comfortable in entertainment. But I did spend, as my primary job, about 20 years in IT and in software development before I really got into hypnosis. Quite a bit of experience before I started mentoring with Jim. I had taken my first hypnosis course probably 4, maybe 5 years before I started working with Jim. And originally I thought I was going to be a clinical hypnotist, and then my friend Ian said, hey look, you really need to do a show. This is going to be a fun time. So I actually trained with Mark Savard a number of times in Las Vegas, and then I ran into Jim and started realizing what the advantage would be to having someone in a longer term capacity being able to give me feedback and that sort of thing. So I did have quite a bit of training before I started with Jim, but moving into the mentorship has really improved my show. It's been great. I've been mentoring with Jim 3.5 years at this point. I'm one of his longer-term mentees, but I'll tell you what, at this level, having this much exposure to Jim and his ideas has just been phenomenal for my show and for my business. It's been awesome. It's interesting because I think a lot of people go into a mentorship with the idea that they're going to get a wow moment, 1 or 2 stellar lightning strike things that are just going to improve their show. And you may with somebody else, but that's not really the way Jim works. Jim is an overall kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that will look at your show and say, you know what, if you say these words in a different order, you're going to get so much better response from your volunteers. Or, hey, you need to take this high energy guy over here and move him between these 2 ladies that aren't so high energy, and you'll get high energy out of all of them. One of my favorite stories about mentoring with Jim is we were on the road one time. I think we were at the National FFA convention, and he says something on stage to the effect of, he turns around to the audience and he says, now that your friends are up here, whenever they open their eyes, they're still going to be deeply hypnotized. It's going to look like they're awake, but they're not. They're actually still in a deep state of hypnosis. And we got in the van to come back, and I said, Jim, that's not really for the audience's benefit, is it? That's actually a suggestion to the volunteers. And he said, yeah, you've got it. And it's just those sorts of things, those sorts of revelations that you don't get at a weekend training course or a 3 or 4 day training course. And I've taken several of them. I trained with Mark Savard, and I think he's probably got, next to Jim, probably one of the best stage training courses out there, but you don't have that long-term access, you don't have that long-term ability to pick up the phone from most trainers and have your questions answered and have your video reviewed and, hey, can you help me improve this routine? You just don't have that. And with Jim, mentoring with Jim, that's really what's going to take your show to the next level. It's not the taking a beginner training courses over and over and over. It's really sitting down and digging into the minutia. You're not going to have a ton of huge lightning bolt moments, but the momentum that you gain from being with Jim, from studying with Jim long term in a mentorship is just, you will look back a year or 2 years later and not even believe you had the same show. Well, part of it is that Jim he not only provides you his feedback, but he will give you examples of, hey, I used to do this in my show and now I do it this way, and it's improved so much. It's less of a, really, it's not a, you should do this because I'm an expert and I've done 10,000 shows. It's a, you should do this because it works, and I will show you that it works, and I will tell you why it works. And I think the biggest benefit to actually to mentoring with Jim, especially in a longer term sense, is that you have that access that you don't get anywhere else. You can't get it from a weekend training course, you can't get it from online, you can't get it from YouTube, you can't get it anywhere but with a mentorship, and it's worth every penny. So, you know, I was comfortable before. I've always been in front of an audience, I've always been a performer. But the things that you find after working with Jim is now, you know, I have the confidence to work in front of just about any size group. I've done shows for 12 people, I've done shows for 1,000 people, everywhere in between. Corporate groups, college groups, schools, small business training events, and I don't think that you can really get that varied level of experience if you're not working with somebody like Jim. I just don't think that you know, you can confidently walk on stage and say, man, I can handle this situation, if you don't have the mechanism for feedback. And I think that's, more than anything else, one of the great things about working with Jim. You know, Jim he's a very demanding guy. He is not going to take excuses because, you know, like I said, mentoring is not a cheap proposition, and so you are not paying him to stroke your ego. You are not working with him to stroke your ego. You're working with him to get better. And at the same time, though, he will, if you insist on it, allow you to fail, and then explain to you why, you know, why you should have done it differently. There's a real give and take here, because he will respect your opinions, but he'll definitely tell you when something works or doesn't work based on the fact that, you know, it's something that you did. It's not the volunteers, it's not the audience, it was something you did. It's extremely demanding, but man, there is no better way to move your show and your business to the next level. It's second to none. I don't even think there's a comparison. I mean, you will find some people who work in one given market, and they are excellent at giving you advice on, say, how to book corporate shows, or you know, they're excellent at dealing with groups in a tourist town or something like that. But Jim, he does it all. The phone rings and he picks it up, and it's an event for 20 people at a company picnic, and it doesn't matter. Okay, contract signed, I'm on my way. He picks up the phone and it's 1,000 college kids in, you know, I don't know, New Mexico. Doesn't matter, I'm on my way. And so when you come to him and you say, you know what, I got a call the other day from this construction company and they want me to do their Christmas party, Jim's gonna go, oh great, I have done 100 of these, I've done 1,000 of these, let me tell you what's worked for me in the past. And you just can't get that from somebody that doesn't have the longevity in the industry or the variety of experience that Jim has. I mean, I know there are people out there that have probably done more shows than Jim or have been in the market longer, but I don't think you'll find somebody who has a more rounded variety of resume components than Jim does. I just don't think you can find that. It's been, mentoring with Jim has been a really interesting journey, and I feel like, you know, he's not only become a very good professional connection, but I feel like he's sort of become a friend, and the reason I think is because he doesn't really hold anything back. If you call him and you say, I'm trying to get booked at a casino, what's the best way to approach them in my market? And he'll give you some great ideas, and you'll feel like you got 100% of everything he knows about booking a casino. If you call him and you say, I'm writing this routine and I don't know quite how to structure it in my mind to get the maximum results, Jim will give you all the feedback that you want without holding anything back. And if there's anything that I can say about working with Jim, I have never not gotten a full and honest answer to every question I've asked. He won't hold anything back, and I don't think that most other trainers are that way. You know, I have a lot of friends in this business, and they always say, man, I just feel like I'm on somebody's list. I feel like I'm getting marketed to constantly. And I have, in the 3.5 years that I've been with Jim, I've never, ever felt like he was only doing something for me so he could get a buck out of it. He's just not that kind of guy, and I don't think that when you mentor with Jim, I don't think you'll feel that way either. I think you'll have the experience of a lifetime. It's going to be intense. It's going to be tough at points. You're going to hear some things you don't want to hear, and you're going to resist some of his suggestions just because that's how you've always done it. But at the end of the day, man, stick with it. You're in for a real ride when you pull the trigger to work with Jim. It's an experience unlike any other you could have in hypnosis.